Hello everyone. So today we are back to Emacs, and I received not one but couple of questions, in fact, comments on my videos. Now I have a lot of videos on Emacs, and I guess that is why you follow me. If you follow me, if you are subscribed to my channel, and uh, although I've covered this in the past, but maybe I was not really clear enough, or maybe I was not able to explain it properly. But what I wanted to talk about today is how to switch between buffers effectively, or basically best practices, or basically if I have to summarize how I do it, because there is not just one way of doing things when it comes to using Emacs or org mode. There are multiple ways. Now let us say I'm working on this document, and the moment you open Emacs, the moment you start doing something, especially using org mode, I mean, let us focus on org mode. You may want to switch the buffer, right? And first of all, buffer is nothing but different windows. For example, if you open any of the file, for example, if I open this particular org file where I'm talking about basically something. Basically, I wrote a blog post using org mode, and yes, you can do that. So this is of course nothing but a buffer, but if you want to go back, you can always press Ctrl X and left arrow, and you can press Ctrl X left arrow one more time, and then you're back to the original file from where you started. So basically there is this list of all the buffers that are open that you have access to, and you can actually access that list using Ctrl X, Ctrl B. So you will have this list here that you can now basically look at. Now this is fine, but this is a bit, so first of all, I mean, when I try to work on, I try not to use mouse unless I'm doing web browsing, but if I'm working on Emacs, I want to avoid using the mouse, although you can still switch between these two windows. For example, if you go to the second window on like the vertical split that we have here, and if you click here, you are in this you're actually in the other buffer, and if you click on, let us say, the first buffer, or the blog post that I just showed you, if you click on it, it will be opened here. So this is fine, but the problem is that I have to use mouse, and if you go back, by the way, I'll click on this window on top, and if I press escape, so basically escape is if you have like these windows open and you want to just have one, press escape a couple of times and you will be back to the original buffer. So let us do it again. If I press Ctrl X, Ctrl B, so I'm doing Ctrl X, Ctrl B. So Ctrl X and then Ctrl B. So I'm typing Ctrl twice. I can now take a look at the buffer, and now I can press Ctrl X O. So whenever you are working on buffers or windows, these windows, I mean especially windows, you can press Ctrl X O and it will cycle through all the open windows. So here you can now select the buffer. So maybe I'll select the buffer, which is this one, right? And if I click, I now have, I mean, it's the same buffer. So this one basically. So I'm now able to open it. And while I'm here, if I press escape, this will basically become the main screen window, whatever. And I can always go back if I press Ctrl X back, or not back, Ctrl X left arrow. This is fine, but there is a problem with this approach, because if you now do Ctrl X, Ctrl B, you have to then go to the other buffer, and then you have to select that, and it will open it separately in that particular window. But usually when you're working with Emacs, personally I prefer working on just one screen wherever applicable. I mean, not always, but if I want to do some focused work, the way I do it is I press Ctrl X and then I press not Control, but I press Ctrl X and then B. And what it will now give me, it will now give me the option to select between different available buffers by typing their name. So what I can do is, I may know the name, because I think the buffer that from where we started and pressed escaped was the 1 month using Arch Linux buffer, which is basically the file. If I want, I can just press enter and I'll be here. But if I press Ctrl X B again, I can then go back. But I don't really want to press enter. I can also select other buffers that are open by either typing their name. For example, if I press here, let us say blog. So there is nothing here with blog. If I press 1, I think there is one more file. But if I press tab, it will then give me the list of all the buffers. This is wonderful, right? I mean, you can take a look at all the buffers that are open. And yes, there is a big list. And I try not to switch the buffer, because if I switch the buffer, if I basically press Control O, or if I use Control X O or mouse, if I'm here in this particular buffer, it will basically open the file. For example, let me open this one, maybe 1000 YouTube subscribers, blah, 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 blah. If I click on it, it is going to, of course, open it, but I'm using the mouse. But what I want to use, what I actually want to do is, I want to basically use the key, only the keyboard. So I can actually type in the name. For example, if I want to open this particular file, which is basically about FFmpeg tutorial. So I can type here FFmpeg, and if I press tab, based on what you're typing, the list will be filtered, or the list will actually just show you all the available files where you have some keywords, or basically those characters that you're typing. So if I want to focus on, let us say, if I press F, it will show me FFmpeg, then it will show me file management, but I want maybe FFmpeg, so I can select FFmpeg, press tab, and I can select the file. Now this is great because I can now so the way I do it, let us say if I'm working on a file, just a recap, I'll do Control X B. If I know the file name, I'll just type it straight away. If not, I can take a quick look by pressing tab, but I don't reuse the mouse. I basically look at the file name, and maybe if I need to go back to, or maybe if I want to open something like, let us open history of Linux, right? So I'll probably just type here history, and then if I press enter, it can now open it. Now to go back to the because these buffers are, if I press Control X, Control B again, these buffers are basically so there is a list. So if you want, you can actually just press Control X and press the left arrow, or if you press Control X and press the right arrow. So right now we are looking at history of Linux. If I press Control X and right arrow again, it will then show you, or basically it will go back and forward in that particular list. So this is basically, so this Control X and left and right arrow is basically for doing Alt Tab on Windows if you're using Windows, or basically I think Alt Tab works in almost everything, but that is how it works. And this is something that I wanted to share because there were a couple of questions on the not community. Yes, it is like my community, but there were a couple of questions on my channel about how you switch buffers, and can you talk about it again? So I hope I shared something useful today, because if you're working with Emacs, I know it can be a bit in the beginning, especially in the beginning. I think it can be a bit daunting. I don't really want to say daunting, but you must be feeling frustrated. Because you're not really sure how to change the windows. But once you're used to these keywords, especially if you know the control thing, but the Control X, Control B, or Control X B, then it will actually make your life a lot more easier. And if you press Control X left and right arrow, you can then go back and forward in the list of buffers. So that is it. That is all I wanted to talk about and share in this video. I hope you found this video useful and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.